Have you ever been in a conversation with your partner where everything seemed fine, and then suddenly it wasn't? Maybe her tone changed. Maybe she became overwhelmed, emotional, or shut down completely, and you were left thinking, what just happened? If you've experienced that, you're not alone. Today, we're diving deep into a concept that can completely transform how you understand your partner and improve your relationship: female emotional flooding, and how learning to recognize and respond to it can dramatically improve connection, communication, and intimacy. Let's start with the basics. Emotional flooding is a physiological response. It's not just being emotional or overreacting. It's when the nervous system becomes overwhelmed and the brain essentially shifts into a state of high stress. When this happens, the body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Heart rate increases, breathing changes, and the brain prioritizes protection over connection.
In simple terms, when someone is emotionally flooded, they are no longer able to process information calmly or communicate effectively. This is not a choice. It's a biological response. And here's where many relationships struggle. One partner, often the male partner, stays in a logical, problem-solving mode. Meanwhile, the other partner is in an overwhelmed emotional state. The result? Miscommunication, frustration, and emotional distance. But once you understand what's actually happening beneath the surface, everything starts to make more sense. Let's go deeper into the science. The brain has different systems for handling stress and connection. When someone feels safe and calm, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for reasoning and communication, is fully active. But when emotional flooding occurs, the brain shifts control to more primitive areas associated with survival. This is often referred to as the fight, flight, or freeze response. In this state, the ability to think logically, listen carefully, or express thoughts clearly becomes significantly reduced. So if you're trying to solve the problem in that moment, it often makes things worse, because your partner doesn't need solutions, they need regulation. Now, let's talk about triggers. Emotional flooding doesn't come out of nowhere. It's usually triggered by something that feels threatening on an emotional level. That could be feeling unheard, feeling criticized, feeling dismissed, or even feeling disconnected. These triggers are often tied to deeper emotional experiences, past conflicts, insecurities, or unmet needs. And when those triggers are activated, the emotional response can be intense and immediate. Now, here's an important point. Emotional flooding is not exclusive to women. Anyone can experience it. But research and relationship dynamics show that it often appears differently between men and women. Women may express it through heightened emotion, tears, frustration, or rapid speech. Men may express it through withdrawal, shutting down, becoming silent, or disengaging. Different expressions, same underlying process. Understanding this helps you avoid taking it personally, because what looks like an attack or rejection is often a stress response. Now, let's talk about what you can actually do. The first step is recognition. You need to be able to identify when emotional flooding is happening. Look for signs like sudden escalation in emotion, difficulty communicating clearly, increased volume or intensity, withdrawal or shutdown, changes in breathing or body language. Once you recognize these signs, the goal is not to push forward, it's to slow things down. This brings us to the second step: regulation. When your partner is flooded, the most helpful thing you can do is create a sense of safety. This can be done through your tone, your body language, and your presence. Speak calmly. Avoid raising your voice. Avoid interrupting. And most importantly, avoid trying to win the conversation. Because in that moment, connection matters more than being right. Sometimes the best thing you can do is pause the conversation. Not as avoidance, but as a reset. You might say something like, "I can see this is overwhelming right now. Let's take a break and come back to this when we're both calmer." This shows awareness and respect.
Now, let's talk about empathy. Empathy is one of the most powerful tools in moments of emotional flooding. It doesn't mean you agree with everything being said. It means you acknowledge the emotional experience. Simple statements like, "I can see that this is really important to you. I hear that you're feeling hurt. I understand why this feels upsetting." These statements help the nervous system begin to calm down because they signal understanding and safety. Now, here's something many people struggle with:
Staying regulated yourself. When your partner becomes emotional, it's easy to react. You might feel defensive, frustrated, or confused. But if both people are dysregulated, the situation escalates quickly. This is why your ability to stay calm is so important. Take a breath. Slow down your response. Focus on maintaining a steady presence. This creates a stabilizing effect. Now let's talk about timing. Trying to resolve complex issues in the middle of emotional flooding is rarely effective. The brain is not in a state to process solutions, so instead of forcing resolution, focus on reconnection. Once both partners are calm, that's when you can revisit the conversation. And here's the key: the way you handle the flooding moment determines how productive the later conversation will be. Now let's connect this to intimacy. Emotional safety is the foundation of intimacy. When someone feels safe expressing their emotions and knows they will be met with understanding, they are more likely to open up. This openness creates deeper connection, and deeper connection enhances intimacy. On the other hand, repeated experiences of being misunderstood or dismissed can lead to emotional distance. Over time, this distance can affect every aspect of the relationship. So learning to navigate emotional flooding is not just about avoiding conflict, it's about strengthening the entire relationship. Now let's go even deeper. Emotional flooding is often linked to unmet emotional needs. Needs like feeling valued, feeling heard, feeling respected, feeling connected. When these needs are consistently met, emotional flooding becomes less frequent. So it's not just about managing the moment, it's about building a relationship where those moments become less intense over time. This brings us to communication habits. Healthy communication is proactive, not just reactive. Regular check-ins, open conversations, expressing appreciation. These small actions build emotional security, and emotional security reduces the likelihood of overwhelming reactions. Another important factor is self-awareness. Understanding your own triggers and patterns allows you to respond more effectively. Ask yourself, what situations tend to escalate quickly? How do I typically react? What could I do differently next time? This level of awareness is what turns knowledge into real change. Now, let's address a common misconception. Some people believe that strong emotional reactions are a sign of weakness or instability. But in reality, they often reflect sensitivity, depth, and a strong desire for connection. The goal is not to eliminate emotion. The goal is to understand it and respond to it in a healthy way. Now, let's bring everything together. Emotional flooding is a natural, biological response to feeling overwhelmed. It affects communication, connection, and intimacy. But with awareness, empathy, and the right approach, it can be managed effectively. Recognize the signs. Slow things down. Create safety. Respond with empathy. And revisit the conversation when both partners are calm. These steps may seem simple, but they have a powerful impact. Over time, they build trust. They strengthen connection. And they create a relationship where both partners feel understood and supported. And that's the foundation of real intimacy. Because at the end of the day, it's not about avoiding difficult moments. It's about learning how to navigate them together. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.